If tomorrow starts without me, there's something you should know. While I hold you close, never let you go.
Hello and welcome to The Broken Pack, a podcast focused on giving adult survivors of sibling loss a platform to share their stories and to be heard, something that many sibling loss survivors state that they never have had. Sibling loss is misunderstood. The Broken Pack exists to change that and to support survivors. I'm your host, Dr. Angela Dean. In this episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with Julie about the loss of her sister Anne to suicide. We also discussed how the kindness of a stranger and connecting with others has helped her in her loss, as well as where she is and what she wishes she had had in her grief. Content warning: information presented in this episode may be triggering to some people. It contains talk of suicide and substance use. Resources are located in the show notes.
You never know, you just never know.
So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Julie, and I'm 42 years old, and I am a mom of a 7-year-old Milo and a 4-year-old JJ. I am working at a Montessori school, and I do subbing and administrative help. I'm from Oregon, and I live in Oregon.
Thank you for that introduction. Before we get started talking about your loss, I wonder what you wanted me and the listeners to know about your sister.
Yeah. So Anne Marie she was about almost 2 years older than me, and she was beautiful, spunky. She definitely marched to the beat of her own drummer, always. She was charismatic, she was brilliant, and if she were here right now, she would argue that I was always the one that got the A's, so I was very, quote, unquote, "book smart," and she was just plain smart. She could tell you, like,
Mm.
all the justices in different states. She was very politically aware. She loved reading and learning about different cultures and history, and she was just like a sponge. She was very smart, she had a lot of knowledge, and she definitely had no problem showing off that knowledge. She was just a very interesting person to be around. It was never a dull moment. She got into trouble a lot because that happens with people who
Hmm.
are just big personalities. She loved breaking barriers and breaking rules and just, like, was a very intense person. And all of that, it rolls very nicely into her labels that she got as a child, for better or worse: ADHD, potentially
Hmm.
bipolar, depressive, well, all of that, and yet just an amazing human to be around. So, yeah.
Sounds like a really, like you said, an amazing human. What was your relationship like with her?
Yeah, so I have a very poor memory of my youth, but my mom and dad told me that we got along really well, we played together really well, and I think it was maybe late elementary school, early junior high and high school where, she just definitely needed to do her own thing, so we had started having troubles then. I was the
Mm.
annoying little sister, she was the one who just had big ideas, and I didn't really fit into those. She felt like whatever was mine was hers, so we got in a lot of arguments about, "Hey, those are my shoes. Hey, that's my makeup." Unfortunately, I think because of her kind of confidence and esteem issues, there was some bullying, and so I reacted to that. So we had a very tumultuous, like, tween years and adolescent years together. And then we did our own thing in our 20s, and we really came back to each other in our late 20s and early 30s. At that point, she needed a lot of support. She had a lot of issues and addictions: food, cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, so many things. And, she kinda, yeah, we just bonded over that because I had similar patterns, but never to the degree she did. So we could talk to each other. We had the same upbringing. We were able to hash things out together, and
Mhm.
being sisters was something that nobody else had besides us with each other. So we really started
Mhm.
coming back. to each other, and I would visit her at rehab, and it was like a beautiful, beautiful time, and then that's when it ended.
Mm. Do you have other siblings?
Mhm. Yeah, I have excuse me. Right. You said I was gonna cry, you were right.
Take your time.
Okay. Yeah, so I have an older brother. His name is Mike. He's 12 years older than me. And he's also profoundly deaf and had been since birth. So he was often at boarding schools and things. So we definitely saw him, but he wasn't really as much of the picture in terms of the sibling group. He didn't really grow up with
Mhm,
me in a lot of ways. And of course, we love him very much, but just didn't have the same relationship, unfortunately, with him that I did
mhm.
with Aunt.
And he was significantly older than both of you, it sounds like.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so almost like an only child and then the 2 of you.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. It sounds like the relationship with you and Anne is it Anne or Anne-Marie?
Oh, well, it's Anne. Yeah. Mhm.
So it sounds like the relationship with you and Anne changed over time with adolescence. That's normal, what we would expect.
Mm.
I think in your writing to me, it sounded like over recent years, it changed again
Right. Like in her
to get
last
closer.
few years, we got a lot closer. And I really owe that to a friend of mine. He's from Lebanon and this was like a couple years before, maybe 3 or 4 years before she died. And we were just talking about families and our siblings. And in passing, I'm like, yeah, I haven't really talked to Anne in like, I don't know, maybe it's been a year. And he was just like shocked. He's like, how you have to.
Mhm,
Like, even if you've had a rocky past and even if you
mhm.
don't get along and even if your personalities aren't the same, like this is one of your most important relationships. You need to talk to your sister. And so I reached out to her and I'm just so grateful to him. And I've told him as much because since then we did become closer and start valuing our histories and how important that is to have such a shared bond and shared parents and all of that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and your parents are still alive.
They are, yeah, they are, and they're
Okay.
wonderful. Yeah, they're very present in my life and my children's lives, and it's just amazing. Yeah.
So, thank you for sharing all of that. I am wondering what you would like me or the listeners to know about the story of losing Anne.
Yeah. Well, it was very traumatic. She died by suicide, which it's interesting. I've listened to a lot of your interviews, and it's not uncommon, sadly. When
Mm.
you lose a sibling middle
Yeah.
age, it seems to be that suicide is maybe one of the top reasons. So, yeah, so she'd been in and out of rehab for a few years, really struggled with alcohol addiction and her food addiction and just her depression and all of those things just I think came to a head. And a year before she died, she and I were talking and she told me, "I think I might jump off the Golden Gate Bridge." And I knew that was serious because I know when they tell you a plan, it's to be taken
Mm,
seriously. So I
mm,
told her I loved her. We're all here for her, all the things. And then, yeah, so one of my last interactions with her, my first child, Milo, was born. She came to visit him. She was drunk. I don't know if I can fully blame it on her. At some point, baby almost fell. So I don't know if like she dropped
mhm,
him or in the passing him back to me. It just wasn't, but she was drunk. So I think she thought that I was upset. I wasn't upset. But I also had like, I wanted to email her after she had left and say, hey, listen, no worries. You're fine. It's fine. We're all good.
mhm,
And after a conversation with my husband who brought up the point of like, "Hey, she needs some space." She'd articulated many times that sometimes having a family who is so loving and so supportive and so just never giving up on her was actually hard for her because she had a very low sense
mm,
of self-worth and didn't feel like she deserved all of this support. And so I was like, I hear that. So maybe I'll just let her reach out to me. And then she never did. And then 3 months later, I did see her one more time at my father's 70th birthday party. And then 3 months later, I got a call from my dad at work and he said, you need to come home. And I said, well, can you just tell me over the phone? And he said, no. And so I was like, okay, something's obviously wrong. And It was interesting on the
Mhm.
drive back to his house, I was going through all the things. Okay, if somebody's dying, I literally went through this mental list of if somebody must be dead, I hope it's this person first and this person next and this person next because I don't know, for some reason that ritual really stuck out with me and in a way I felt guilty about it, but I was categorizing it by who was the most important in my life, and it was a very unconscious
Mhm.
kind of thing, but I knew it wasn't good, whatever I was about to come to. So,
Mhm.
he shared with me the news and that she had jumped off the bridge like she said she was going to. And my mom is a flight attendant and she was in Hawaii at the time. So my dad was able to get a hold of the airline who got a hold of her and she got off her plane in Hawaii. And then told her she was just
Mm.
hysterical in the airport, hours and hours away from us. And just the whole so traumatic. So traumatic.
That sounds definitely she was
Anyway,
alone and yeah.
she was alone. And as a mother now, I can't even imagine. But you know what? She came back and she said she was so grateful because so many people were just loving her and hugging her and getting her water and supporting her. So she wasn't really alone.
Mhm.
Any mother would have gone over to her and helped take care of her, which they did. So yeah, so she came back and Anne had actually flown all the way from Philadelphia to San Francisco with this plan in
Oh.
her mind and didn't pick up her luggage from the baggage claim, and so that was returned to us, and we were just desperately hoping for a note, and there wasn't one, so we just put the
Mhm.
pieces together, which we knew she was depressed and that she was having just such a hard time with her addictions, and yeah, so that's the story, and then we all went to San Francisco, and we took a little, we actually have, like, boats that go out and you can spread ashes in the San Francisco Bay, and she loved San Francisco, it was
Mhm.
her favorite city in the world, so we did that. That was it.
I'm so sorry. That does sound awfully tragic. I don't think I realized that when you messaged me that the story about going to the bridge wasn't was that at the same time that you went to spread the ashes?
No, it was about a year later. Yeah, year and a half later.
Oh. So in the immediate aftermath, did you feel supported?
Yes. Yes and no. I was in so much shock, I didn't really know how the thought of am I supported or not just wasn't even there. It was just like I was
Mhm.
so
Oh, of
in the
course,
middle
right.
of me. Mhm. But my sister-in-law, so my husband's sister, just was incredible. When she found out, she didn't even ask. She just flew up from Denver because I had a brand new baby, a 4-month-old baby. She flew up from Denver
Mhm.
and took my baby. It was just, "You do what you
Mhm.
need to do. I am here." It's just the biggest showing of love.
Mhm.
Because my husband and I were recently married, and I'd maybe seen her 3 times in my life or something, and that's what she did, and it was just such a generous and powerful display of support. And so, yeah, she just took care of Milo while I wailed in my bedroom and got her obituary
Mhm.
read, like, all the things that need to happen after someone dies, and so that was amazing. My parents, of course, we were fully supportive of each other and fully grieving our own grief, and so I never felt like I needed more from them, and they didn't feel like they needed more from me. In fact, if anything, they were just, like, checking in on me all the time. I was like, "Dude,
Mhm.
we're good. Don't worry about me." And yeah, and then another person at work who really supported me is just this one nurse who, like, came up to me and was just when I was alone in my office, and she's just like, "If you need anything at all, if you need to go home early, you're good." And everyone else and I'm not blaming
Mhm.
them at all. You don't know what to say to somebody when this kind of thing happens, but everyone else is just like,
Right.
nothing. It was like nothing. It wasn't like they were like, "Hey, Julie," like chipper, but everyone just put their head down,
Mhm.
right? Because they're like they don't want like, hurt me by opening up anything, and so everyone's just being very careful. But I really appreciated just that very simple, kind gesture of, "I acknowledge
Mhm.
you, and I know this is really hard for you to be back at work after a week." So and then, of course, the story I told you about with the woman I went to the bridge with about a year and a half later. she also lost a sibling to addiction, and so we just instantly had a bond, and I didn't know the woman. I don't really know her now. We just had this amazing bonding journey to the Golden Gate Bridge together, so I could throw some flowers off and think about her and be with someone who got it, you know? So those were the
Mhm.
big supports I look back on that time.
Yeah. How did you meet her?
So I have to be a little careful because I worked at a medical clinic, and I don't wanna say her name because I haven't asked her permission to share, but she
No,
was
I understand.
yeah. She was a patient at the clinic, and I was working checkout, and she was checking out from her appointment, and her name struck me as the character in a book that my sister loved. It was her favorite book. It was about siblings, really, and my sister wanted me to read it, and I never did until she died, and I really regret that because she and I would have really had a nice conversation about this book. Anyway, it was a character in the book, and I asked her about it. She said, "Oh, yeah, my dad loved this book, and he named me after that character because she's such a strong woman." I was like, "Wow," and I told her
Mm,
about my sister and how she loved the book and how she died by suicide by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, and she started crying and was like, "Oh my god, my brother died by drug overdose, like, a year ago," and this just very quickly culminated into, like, a very deep bond, and I mentioned, "One day when I feel brave enough, I'd like to go to the bridge and throw off some flowers," and she was like, "I'm going with you." Her husband used his miles or whatever points to get us there, and we
mhm.
did.
Oh,
Within, like, a
sweet.
month. It was incredible. It was magic, nothing
Yeah.
short of magic. Yeah.
And then even the Uber ride that you
Yes. Yeah.
mentioned
So we spent a whole
previously.
day in San Francisco visiting my sister's old stomps in her old apartment and or the building, and we got an Uber to the bridge, and when we were pulling up to the bridge, this song came on, which I'd never heard, but it's a hip hop song by this band named Logic, and the title is the suicide hotline phone number. And the lyrics in the beginning are like, "I don't wanna be alive, I wanna die right now." And I turned around, she was in the back seat, and I looked at her, like, with the most intense look, and I was like, "What the heck?" And we were both
Mhm,
just, like, shocked. We can see the bridge in full view, and here's this singer on the radio in this random Uber talking about, "I don't wanna be alive, I wanna die today." It was
mhm,
crazy. Like, the whole day, the whole experience was just, like, sign after sign after sign after sign of, like, Anne was wild.
mhm.
Um, yeah, that was
Yeah.
a really moment.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That idea that people weren't there, didn't know what to say to you, I've been
Mhm.
thinking a lot about that lately, and I was at a conference recently in which people were talking about how so many people don't know what to say, and that we watched a documentary that I highly recommend called Speaking Grief. They did a version of this, but there were several speakers that talked about how people just will see you in a public space and turn around and walk away. So it's not like we're so not comfortable talking about grief and loss. And then I think if you add in this component of sibling loss, nobody knows what to say to you. I'm glad that you had some support. Where are you with that now?
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, whenever I wanna talk to my parents, I can, like, open door all the time,
Mhm,
and whenever her name comes up, which is often, we'll just have a little tear, have a little cry, and then we keep moving.
mhm,
I kind of wish I don't talk to my friends about it, even my friends who knew her. If it comes up, I'm the one that brings it up, and sometimes and I don't blame them for this because they haven't had this experience and hopefully they won't have to. Because one of my best friends is like she and her sister and me go on monthly hikes, and I just look at them and I'm like, "God, how lucky they are." Right? And so maybe that's why they don't
mhm,
wanna bring it up because they don't want me to feel bad. It's already kind of like, "Yeah, here's my awesome sister that I'm best friends with, and our kids are best friends," but I'm not like a bitter person. But when it comes up with them, it's me bringing it up. When it comes up with any of my friends, it's me bringing it up because it's May and I think about her in May, or because it's her birthday and I think about her on her birthday. So sometimes I guess if I really think about it, I would just it would feel good if my friends were just like, "By the way, how are you doing with Anne? Do you wanna talk about it, or you wanna tell me something about how it's going?" And again, I don't blame them for not. I don't know if I would, and I'm sure there's a million things I'm missing and not checking in with my friends about, death or not, but so that would feel good. But I'm still every now and then I communicate with some of Anne's friends who weren't my friends, but they were Anne's friends, and I know I can always bring her up with them because they'll be happy to share a
Mhm.
story or tell me how much they loved her. But yeah, it just doesn't come up in my daily life too much anymore. It's been 7 years, so
Mhm. Oh, wow. Yeah. How are the anniversaries each year for you?
they're special. So her birthday, we often celebrate. Sometimes we'll have some of her friends over. Sometimes I'll just think about her. We'll raise a glass, like, if I'm with my parents. But then her death anniversary is actually May 24th, and I do something different every year. I've gone to San Francisco twice now. I'm going again this year. Just I don't know why. It's morbid, but feels good to be in her city and in her space. And I buy a book or two, one book each for my children every year for Anne's Day, and I sign it, the date and Anne's Day, and one day they'll know what that means. But she was an avid reader.
Mhm.
She just read about everything, so I felt like a good way to honor her and keep her connected to her nephews would be to buy them books, so we have the whole collection of Anne's Day books, and so that's like a little tradition. We check in with my parents, and at the time she died, we always call each other and just let the silence
Mhm.
happen during that time, and so, yeah, we have some little rituals that feel pretty good, but of course, it's sad. May is always like a just get through this month kinda situation.
Yeah. It sounds like you're finding ways to stay connected to her through those things that you're doing and also sharing her with your sons. That's quite
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, we try. When my oldest son was, like, 3 or 4, of course, he always heard about Tante Anne, Tante Anne. My father's French, and so Anne did not want to be called aunt. She was very against that, so we're like, "Fine, tante," which is, like, the French word for aunt.
Right.
So Tante Anne is how they know her by, and he was like, "How did Tante Anne die?" And I was like, "She died of a very big sadness, like, more than you've ever felt, like a real big sadness," and that's kinda all they know right now, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna be very transparent with them and talk to them about, "Hey, this is in our family, and we need to be really careful when we need
Yeah.
to take this seriously." So, we'll get there, obviously not yet. They're pretty young,
How
but
old
I'm
are
not
they
gonna
now?
sugar 7 and 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Probably not the time to share that with them. Yeah.
No, and of course, I have a huge fear that I don't wanna give them any ideas. I worry, and I didn't even want children for the longest time because 'cause I'm like, "Man, we're screwed up." I had an eating disorder, I smoked cigarettes, I dabbled with drugs, I, like, don't drink alcohol anymore because I wasn't alcoholic per se, but it never went well. So I've been 11 years sober, and so, yeah, I got my own things. My sister clearly had her own things, and they say a lot of that is genetic, and my parents, shockingly, are, like, the most quote, unquote, "normal" people, so I don't really know what the heck happened with us, but they don't either. They're like, "What did we do?" I'm like, "I don't know. Nothing. It's just the way it is." But, yeah, and my brother had depression, so I just feel like I am doomed. I just need to do damage control and try to, like, you know,
Mhm.
just be aware of all the signs because my husband would be a I think he thinks I'm a little too pessimistic about it, but I just have a very big fear. So, yeah, I will talk to them about it, but I'm also nervous about it too.
Yeah. Has anything changed with I know you said you weren't close with your brother, but has this changed your perspective on that relationship with him?
It's interesting, like, it hasn't. We check in with each other every now and then. My sign language is unfortunately not great, so we can't really have
Mhm.
deep conversations, but if we're with each other on Anne's Day or if we just wanna say, "Hey, I'm still feeling sad," but we never really talked about it, and I really
Mhm.
don't know at all, and this is embarrassing to say now that I'm saying it out loud, I don't know how he grieved. I don't know what his process was. I don't even know if my
Mhm.
mom or my parents know what his process was. I'm sure she would know more than me,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's really, yeah, sad too.
Yeah. It's interesting you use grieved in the past tense. Do you feel that you're still grieving?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Yes and no. Before, the grief was always, like, I would hold it together at work, and I
Mhm.
would just I shouldn't have even been driving. I would just be, like, driving my commutes were, like, my cry sessions because I had a baby at home, so I couldn't cry at home.
Hmm.
So it was, 20 minutes to just have the waterworks going. And it was all the time. So I was like constantly grieving. And then it was waves, very strong grief waves, and then lesser. And
Hmm.
now it's like you can't think about one thing all the time, right? So I'm a mom, I'm super
Hmm.
busy. I grieve when I think about her, as you can see from this podcast. If it comes up, it is all right there just waiting for me. It never goes away in that sense, but it does go away in the sense that I am not thinking about it on a regular basis. And part of me wonders if that's because my relationship with Anne involved so many years of just on and off connection. There would be months or a
Hmm.
year go by where we didn't have a relationship really. We just didn't talk. We were doing our own thing. And so, I listened to some of your other interviews and that wasn't the case for everybody. So a lot of me just living my life without thinking about Anne is also a part of my history with Anne, alive or not.
Hmm.
I wonder if that
I
changes
mean,
how I grieve.
I possibly, but I think there's also this normalization of grief that we can do here where you're far enough out that it's not still new. It's still fairly new, right? 7 years isn't that long in the grand scheme of things. But there's this one way of thinking or model of grief that we talk about loss orientation and restoration orientation, and that we bounce back between them. And what that means basically is that some days we're oriented to the loss and the grief and all of the way that impacts us. And sometimes we're oriented to the way that we are basically living life. I'm going to simplify it. And that they're never gone. They're just, we're switching back and forth between them. And that's what I
Mhm.
hear you describing very well. Like if I couldn't have taken what you said and made it more of an example of this whole grief model. And so I just want to share that with you because I also hear you comparing yourself to other people, and we don't need to do that. We can just normalize that grief is not the same for everybody.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. That's what it is. It's like never not there. It's just, I guess I have more of, what's the word? Not agency, that's not the right word, but I guess I have a little more say in when the grief happens. It's not as out of
Hmm.
control. Now it's like, I'm gonna think about Anne, and I want to, and I'm gonna be sad. I'm gonna have this interview.
Hmm.
This is intentional. Or I see something that reminds me of
Hmm.
her, and I'm gonna let myself have a moment, but it's not like, yeah, it's not so at the surface. Yeah, you're right. It comes and it goes, and as more time goes by, the coming is less than it was.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're learning to live with the grief instead of the grief controlling you.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get to
and my
say,
mom, like, because I
I
check in
love
with
how
her
you're
a
like,
lot.
I'm gonna think about it now.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, I'm sorry, go
exactly.
ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. And then with my parents, I think it's way more there than it is not there. Like, it's very much changed my mom, for sure, and my dad also, but, like,
Hmm.
my mom, when I ask her, "How are you about Anne?" It's just there's a hole in her heart, and she's doing amazing, like, she is living her life, but it's like there's some kind of different quality to it. And I think it's
Hmm.
probably the same with my dad, but just not as obvious. So I don't know. It's interesting because now that I'm a mom and I had a sibling loss, I don't know. Like I cannot even imagine losing my children. So I think it's interesting listening to your podcast because it's like, yeah, there's a lot of people who are concerned about the parents and always asking about the parents and not checking in so much with the siblings, which is totally the case with us, especially even more so for my brother. So that was very real. And at the same time, I get it. I don't really
Yeah.
blame people because there's something when I look at my mom and my dad, it's like their grief is different than mine. And again, this is just
Yes.
my family, right? This isn't for all families. There might be
Right.
siblings who have way harder grief problems
Hmm.
than the parents. It just depends on the family situation. And in ours, it never makes me feel like, oh, I can't talk about my grief because mine's not as important. It just feels
Hmm.
different the way I don't want to use the word moved on, but the way I carry it now versus the way my parents carry it now.
Right. Well, I think
Could
that's
be
an
wrong.
important distinction is that it is different, right? It's not the same as parent loss or child loss. It's sibling loss. and it's just different. It doesn't mean that it's better or harder or easier or any of those things. It just is.
Mhm.
Has like seeing your parents change also feels like a loss.
It Yeah, it does, but I don't wanna say that out loud because like, I don't want them to feel ever bad about it. It's just I just feel so sorry for them.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves it, right? But they loved her so much, and they tried so
Mhm.
hard in all the ways they could with all the tools of the '80s and '90s, which are not as good as the tools of today, but that's what they had, and
Right.
they tried, and, like,
Mhm.
it's just it's just heartbreaking because, yeah, I love them so much.
Yeah.
I just wish the last time my dad saw her was his 70th birthday. So the last, hopefully, 30 years of life are gonna be without his child, like, they outlived their child, and I just that's not how you want your retirement to be, where
Mhm.
you have this hole in your heart, but it's also just life, like, this tragedy happens, so it's not I don't know, it's just I just feel
Mhm.
really sad that it happened.
Yeah.
I don't blame her, nobody blames her, but it's just unfortunate,
Yeah.
and I swear my children were the saving grace. Like, my mom had basically I had 3 months maternity leave after Milo was born, and she was gonna watch him for a year after that just to keep him with family, and she was excited about it, and then Anne died, and I was like, "Mom, I don't know if you can watch Milo. This is crazy. You need
Mm.
to deal with your grief," and she was like, "No, no, no, I need Milo. Like, this."
Mhm.
And they have a very special bond. Milo may not know about it as in the same way she does, but she looks at Milo and she just remembers how he got her through that first year, which is really
Mhm.
beautiful. But so, yeah, I'm really grateful that my kids are a huge distraction for them. If I and also they love them, but if I didn't have children, I
Right.
honestly think it would be so much harder for them to move on. Not move on, I hate that term. I
Mm.
don't know the better term, but, like,
Yeah.
yeah, to live with the sadness.
Moving
So,
forward, I think is a yeah.
yeah, there you go.
What do you miss most about her?
The random phone calls. We would just call each other or text each other, like, in the middle of the night with whatever was on our mind, and she was a little, like, I don't wanna say when sometimes and this is not gonna sound very nice of me or good-natured, but, like, sometimes you just are annoyed by people and you just wanna poke a little fun in a safe space, and Anne was just the
Mhm.
first one be like, because she was a flight attendant, so she had a million stories of annoying passengers and ridiculous people
Mhm.
she worked with, and just the best stories, they were just hilarious and, like, funny and just rude and things that you would never say yourself, but I'm just gonna call Anne
Mhm.
and just let her go off on some things, and it was always just brilliant, and she could have been a comedian, so it was really fun just talking to her, and she was very, like I can't even really describe the way she talks with especially without using any swear words, but she was just spunky, and
You're
she just
fine to
had,
swear
like
if you want.
yeah. So, yeah, I definitely miss that, and just talking about our parents and our little gripes and our little, "Oh my god, mom did this," or
Mhm.
papa's just,
Right.
always in loving ways, but just in a very relatable
Mhm.
way. Yeah, I think those are the big things. The happy times, the fun times are definitely missed.
Yeah. Well, speaking of happy times, do you have any favorite memories that you wanna share with us?
Yeah, but it's gonna make her sound like such terrible person, and she's totally not, but first of all, she was always really supportive, like, she was just
Mhm.
so protective of me despite I swear to God, she hated me for 15 years, and maybe it was reciprocal because nobody likes to be hated, right? So despite those hard years, like, if I had a boyfriend that she didn't I'm not saying I liked this, but she would just rip into them, like, in front of me, to their face, like, challenging them on stuff, and to them, they were just like, "She is a bitch," and I'm like, "No, she's just testing you. She's just making sure that you're gonna hold your own, and you're gonna come back with something clever, and you're gonna say the right thing." I knew her, so she just had this way of just, like, being protective and being just, like, so I don't know. so challenging at the same time. And so I always appreciated that. I'm like, in her own way, she very much loves me. And this is how she shows it, by just being really, really protective of her little sister. And yeah, we used to live together, I think summer after my first year of college in New York City. And that was just a blast. She took me to dance clubs and just showed me the town, and I would borrow her clothes, and she would put makeup on me, and I'm not like a makeup-y person, but she was just like, "You're gonna do this," and really, like, got me out of my shell in a lot of ways and just showed me a world that I didn't really know existed. And yeah, she was just fearless. The girl was fearless. That was fun.
Mhm. Well, thank you for sharing that. Are there ways that you wish people would have supported you, or mental health professionals, or anyone that you wish they had known how to support you differently?
I don't know. Again, at the time, it was just something I didn't really expect from people. I just felt like I just had this knowing that I just need to get through this, like, myself.
Mhm.
I think I certainly didn't wanna be rushed. I wanted it to be okay to cry about it and to be sad and not to feel like
Mhm.
there was a timeline on my healing. And yeah, I felt I am the hurt one. I get to decide when I cry, how I cry, where I cry, who I talk
Mhm.
to, what I do to make me feel better. And I think we emailed a little bit about this, but like I didn't always get that in my home life for my husband, like
Mhm.
because he would have handled things very differently because he and I are very differently on an emotional level. I think I should have just listened to my own heart and my
Mhm.
own gut. And so yeah, and at the same time, he was totally overwhelmed by my feelings, and
Mm.
they were affecting my mothering. I was sad, I was crying a lot, and Milo was seeing me crying,
Mhm.
and in my mind, it's, "Yeah, people cry. Life is hard sometimes." Like,
Mhm.
it's good he's seeing this, and his mind is like, "Oh, this is we don't want this. We're supposed to be happy. This is a happy time. We've got a little
Mhm.
baby. We're happy." And I'm like, "Not really." So
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's the best, like, the best thing would have been for people to just be like, "Wherever you're at, we can handle it. We can handle your
Mhm.
sadness." I felt like people couldn't handle my sadness, and that was hard.
Yeah.
So, because that's the sadness is what I knew would get me through. Allowing myself to be as sad as I wanted is what would clear that's the cleansing process of grief, right? If you feel like you can't
Mhm.
let those feelings out because you're not in a safe space to do it and you have to put on a happy face, is really gonna add insult to injury. So that was the hardest part, is feeling like I had to put on a happy face at work. I had to put on a happy face because I'm a mom and I'm supposed to be happy and I'm supposed to be happy with my husband. And it's not like he was saying, "You need to get over this," but was making him uncomfortable and it was obvious. So
Mhm.
it felt like the same thing as feeling like I needed to
Yeah.
get over.
Mhm. It makes sense because you have this very devastating event of losing your sister, and at the same time, the new life of your son. Balancing those out is difficult, like life and death in the same space.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's the important message that I loved about what you said, is that I'm gonna grieve my own way, and I wish people would have let me cry. But yeah, I appreciate that perspective, because I think that's something a lot of people lose sight of, is everyone grieves differently, and we can let you grieve the way that you need to grieve, and I might grieve differently, and somebody else might grieve a different way, and that's all okay, and even if it's the same person. So thank you for that
Yeah.
perspective. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, I don't know why people don't talk about sibling relationships and sibling grief more, because sibling relationships are very whole relationships. They're not just little pieces of something. It's an entire dynamic whole relationship.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. Our theme song was written by Joe Millwood and Brian Dean and was performed by Joe Millwood. If you would like more information on the Broken Pack, go to our website, thebrokenpack.com. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter, Wild Grief, to learn about opportunities and receive exclusive information and grieving tips for subscribers. Information on that, our social media, and on our guests can be found in the show notes wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share. Thanks again.
You're second guessing, well, you never know, you just never know.